I don't think it's that mainstream. But the American comics market, people generally go to the store every week on Wednesday. They take their pull list. They're basically essentially picking and choosing the short stories they want in their own anthology. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So they are doing it. It's actually, as a comic creator, again, going back to the difficulty of actually putting together a graphic novel on your own, it's so, I mean, I do one a year right now. It is the most difficult thing I've ever done, and I've worked in a lot of different industries. It is insanely hard. It would be so much easier to be able to do little bits and pieces of the comic and eventually collect them. Most of the graphic novels we know as like the greatest graphic novels of all time were all done this way. You know, almost none of them are made the way Amulet is made.
Right. Jump in there. What do you guys say?
I was going to say, yeah, you're mentioning kind of the smaller increments. You know, like I think Dark Horse Presents. I don't know if anyone's checked that out.
That's a good point.
I'm kind of excited that it's come back.
Yeah,
in a way. Yeah.
I grew up on Mad Magazine. You know?
Yeah.
That's an anthology.
You keep talking, sir. It's your turn now.
Yeah, I don't want to take over.
Yeah,
that's fine. No,
get in there. I'm going to moderate this thing. Talk,
that's
sir.
fine.
Well, all of our books are pretty large too. Like Flight's really big. Popgun got too big actually, but you know, so they're really big, and there's kind of like a commitment. You know, even per page, even though they're a better deal, I think when you break it down, there's a big commitment. Whereas Dark Horse Presents, I think they have a pretty good size for a monthly book. I think like 70 or 80 pages for $8. I'm really excited about that. I mean, that's something I hope it does well. I'd like to work on books like that. I think that sounds really fun. Instead of like doing tons and tons of work every year, every 8 months, just to have it a monthly book. And it's basically it is like a big anthology, just split up every month. I don't know. I like that. Instead of waiting a year, you just wait a month to get something new. And each story, some of them continue, some of them are brand new. I really like it. I hope I hope that becomes more popular.
No, I definitely hope so too, because I think an anthology is a really good way to like introduce a bunch of ideas in a small space. Now, Nicole, I want to start with you. My next question would be, what are anthologies that inspired you? You know, because there have been a lot of like, especially in science fiction and fantasy, a lot of anthologies over the decades. Like what's a point of inspiration for you, for example? And we'll go down the line.
Well, once again, like I said, I read a lot from both books and graphic novels. So obviously Stephen King has a ton of short stories, and then there's a whole bunch of really great horror anthologies and sci-fi anthologies, because, you know, he's a huge fan of Ray Bradbury. So anything that involves Ray Bradbury's name or H.P. Lovecraft, I've probably read. I really do love Dark Horse Presents, because as you guys know, I work very closely with keeping tabs on Dark Horse, and they're wonderful. And one of the, on your previous question, one of the main things that sold with Dark Horse Presents is they have tons of variant covers, and really, the whole Dark Horse family is just great creators that have a name for themselves. So it's like, I was going to jokingly cut in and say we could have famous people read them, but in a sense, Dark Horse has famous people creating them. So if you get the right names in, I mean, I think anyone would read a anthology that had Alan Moore, Grant Morrison, a whole bunch of other people, Neil Gaiman, just all of them. That would be like the greatest anthology of all time. And I would love to write on that. No, but yeah, so that's a lot of the stuff that inspires me. And actually, I'm very inspired by our own Womanthology, because we have such a list of female creators that it's just amazing to see how we pulled this together. Because I heard about it, 3 months ago, and jumped on because I'm friends with Steve Niles, and I heard about it through Steve, and I immediately had to sign up for it. And then we just put it all together, and we all work so well together, and I think that's inspiring, because that's what the whole spirit of an anthology is. It's just overwhelming teamwork to create an amazing masterpiece if you can pull it off. And what we've seen is pretty amazing, and we're all very excited.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool, like, we're like in an anthology, you know, it can come together and be like greater than the sum of its parts, you know, like it's easier for like a top flight writer or artist to do a couple of pages than it would be to do, like, you know, an entire book monthly. Now, how about you, sir? What are some of the anthologies that have inspired you to create what you've created?
Oh, wow.
You've had time to think about this.
Growing up, you know, I read a lot of like Vaults of Horror, Tales from the Crypts, books like that, where it was just nothing but short stories in every issue.
Yeah.
A lot of the books I read, Stephen King, Steve Allett, a lot of short stories. I love short stories. I love getting in and out. Just quick view of the world, and then you're gone. So for me, you know, things like Creepy, Flight. All good stuff, and it's what I wanted to do. I wanted to create something where you get just a little bit of everything, and And it also helps, I can get Stuart Immonen to do an 8-pager. I can't get
Right.
him to do a graphic novel or a miniseries or anything like that. So for
Yeah.
me, that's what it was about.
Yeah, I love Stuart Immonen. Oh my God, I'm just imagining Spider-Man right now flying through the sky.
Hey, how about you, sir?
I was just thinking about, actually, I think even when I was a little kid, like in a reading class or lit class, we had our, textbooks, and there were, excerpts from books or a bunch of short stories that we had to read for class. I really liked that. It's exciting to me. And I mean, and I didn't, as far as Popgun goes, I didn't start it, but I know that Flight was a huge inspiration for Popgun. I mean, so I think that was probably the most direct inspiration for it. And
Everybody loves Flights.
Everybody loves
You got 3 of your biggest fans up here.
Flight's like Raymond. No, I don't know.
Yes, exactly.
And I love Raymond. Everybody does.
But yeah, I think that's what, I mean, for me personally, it was those books, and then Mad Magazine, Cracked, stuff like that I really liked. But then, yeah, for this book itself, I think Flight was very much a direct influence. Thanks.
Well, hopefully we can carry on the tradition with Explorer. It's it's a lot more focused. But yeah, for me, my inspirations, like I mentioned before, Mad Magazine is probably the most direct inspiration as far as anthologies go. Other anthologies.
So that's why Flight has that cool fold-in.
Well, yeah, and I was actually, it was also heavy metal. When Mobius was doing it, and the short stories of Hayao Miyazaki in Model Graphics magazine, and that's actually how Flight actually came together. That was the main inspiration, was seeing Porco Rosso, the film. Hayao Miyazaki is an animation director in Japan. Made Porco Rosso, Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, Princess Mononoke, among other amazing films. And he initially did Porco Rosso as a comic strip for Model Graphics magazine. It's only about 15, 16 pages long, but the whole story was there, and the story of the film. And at the time, I was working in animation, and I saw that, and I was like, whoa, well, if I could just develop a story that's only 15 pages long and it could become a film. My job was to actually develop features for the studio. I thought, well, why don't I get my friends together and we'll do a bunch of 15, 16 page stories that are full movies in and of itself. It's a little harder than we anticipated, but at the same time, we gave it a shot, and that's what Flight was. And so it was actually Miyazaki and Mobius. Those were the two biggest inspirations for the series.
Cool. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about each of your individual anthologies. And again, I want to start with you, Nicole. Womanthology is something that I heard about over the internet, actually, because why don't you tell people a little bit about the genesis of that idea?
Well, like I said, it was started by Renee DeLise, which I might be saying your name wrong, Renee, I'm sorry. I haven't actually met Renee.
Renee just ran out of here crying. Poor Renee. Ooh.
Well, I haven't actually met most of these ladies in person because, like you said, it was started on the internet, which that's one of the most amazing things about it, is that we can all work together this quickly across, the whole web. And
Bring the microphone close to your face, huh?
I have a very loud voice,
closer.
So I don't really want to get it too close. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So what happens is she set up this whole thing where we could each plug in our information, and we had to make our own basic pages for coding and stuff so we could deliver the stuff. We pretty much made a whole internet publishing thing and put in our stuff, because I worked on mine where I did all my own writing, lettering, and art, but most people were just teamed up where they would write a script. Like Jenna Bush, it was her first script ever. I asked her if she wanted to do it, and she said, of course. I mean, who wouldn't want to get in on this? It's amazing. And so...
You don't mean George W. Bush's daughter, do you?
No, Jenna Bush, the amazing geek icon, Jenna Bush.
Whew. Okay, good. That'd be a boring comic. Anyway, keep going. Sorry to interrupt.
And so I invited Jenna after meeting her at a party, and so then she, of course, wanted to get in, and then she wrote her first script ever and co-wrote it with another person, and then sent that together, and it got arted, and then it would get lettered and then edited by an amazing team of ladies, and we put this all together in such a short amount of time, and I think that's really impressive. I mean, most are published, most of your stuff takes, you'll be sitting there waiting forever, wondering, when is it coming? But to get all this together with over 80 writers and over 80 artists, not just at the same time. We have 300 ladies lined up, and we just busted it out because we believe in it. So.
300 women worked on Womanthology?
It's pretty amazing.
Lord. Now I want to ask a follow-up specifically about Womanthology. I'm sorry, Michael. He was like ready to go, and I'm like, I feel bad. But now look, this in my opinion, it fills a really clear need in the marketplace for a comic
that's like from the ground up done with a woman's